What is up, Z Fighters? It's Manga Adventures, and today I'll be doing a new What If, which makes Shallot a fan favorite from Dragon Ball Legends canon. I like changing the continuity of stories as to not make them clones of the original series, so events will go much differently than what you will initially expect, because I want Shallot to have his very own series. But at the end of the day, it's still Dragon Ball, so no new transformations. If you're wondering about what if Oob was the main character of GT, I haven't abandoned that project, but after watching Anime X's video on his second channel, it made me think of channel growth more, so I'll be spitting out new what ifs before they're finished from now on. I hope you guys understand. That's all I have for introduction, so let's get started with world building. This what if takes place in age 737, but things are vastly different. Instead of the Frieza Force, it's the Cooler Force, and unlike Frieza, Cooler isn't scared of the Super Saiyan myth, so he isn't keeping a close eye on them, and he's letting the Saiyans do as they please as long as they conquer worlds for him. King Vegeta is taking advantage of this and is planning on revolting very soon. Let's switch our story over to the Saiyan warrior Shallot, who's taken over a technological advanced world called Wheeler. This is easy with his power level of 9,000. The head scientist of this once peaceful world pleads for him not to do this, but Shallot captures him not because he was showing mercy, but because he was ordered to. After finishing his mission, he heads back home. Today he has dinner with Bardock and Gine, along with his partner Fasha. Now I would like to state a few things. The first, Shallot is not friends with Bardock. It's his partner Fasha who's friends with Gine. The two get along because Gine is one of the few kind-hearted Saiyans, which is a breath of fresh air for Fasha, who's always on the front line. Now, why am I using partner instead of wife? Well, the reason for this is because the two do not love each other at all. They were paired together because both of them have high power levels, with Fasha having a power level of 7,000 similar to Nappa. The mindset for this is that the two will have a powerful baby that could be used on the front lines. I feel for a warrior race, this would be more common than not. Explanations out the way, the two families are enjoying dinner when attention shifts to the Saiyan child Raditz in the next generation. Gine and Fasha don't want to fight anymore, even though Fasha has a high power level. Taking over worlds shouldn't be the only gauge of strength. Shallot chips in saying that someone protecting their life draws out their highest potential. Bardock then interrupts saying there's a strength higher than that and is protecting the life of another. It took him until Raditz was in danger to realize that. He then places his hand on Kakarot's incubator and says maybe protecting two things will make him even stronger. Shallot didn't understand. He thought this was a load of nonsense, so he left dinner early. When he went back to his home, he sees the incubator with his son, Giblet, who has a power level of 5,000. The only thing on his mind is if his son would be a good fight for him later. The next day, he's assigned to a mission to a nearby planet, but this time he's accompanied by a Saiyan named Tullece. When asked why he was brought along, he said it was because King Vegeta personally wanted to see this planet conquered. Shallot didn't think anything of it, just telling him to stay out of his way. Tullece pulls seeds out of his pocket and plants them into the ground before the mission starts. Once they finish, Tullece goes back to where he planted the seeds and a tree has sprouted. Shallot gets annoyed at his little garden, but Tullece informed him that this is the secret weapon King Vegeta came up with to defeat Cooler. This fruit will double the power of anyone who eats it at the cost of the planet they're on. Shallot doesn't think this is a good idea. Not only is it borrowed power, but killing off a world will cause the Saiyans to get on Cooler's bad side. Tullece is disappointed because that's not the answer King Vegeta wanted to hear from one of his semi-elites. Shallot senses the killing intent and readies himself for battle. Not worried about his opponent with a power level of only 5,000, same as his infant son, it's a joke. That's when Tullece takes a bite of the fruit, which bumps his power level up to 10,000. The battle ensues, and although Tullece has a high power level, Shallot is the better fighter. He's able to get the upper hand momentarily until Tullece eats another fruit, raising his power level once again to 20,000. Something strange is happening to him. His eyes turn red and he becomes more vicious when he attacks, like a wild animal. Shallot knows he cannot win and escapes by the skin of his teeth. He knows he can't go back to planet Vegeta, so he lets the pod's autopilot take him to the next world he was supposed to conquer. Once he lands, he staggers out of the ship, but he has no time to rest because the greatest warrior on this planet charges into battle without hesitation. Knowing the Saiyans are the main army of the Cooler Force, Shallot may be weakened, but he isn't about to lose to his opponent who only has a power level of 6,000. But as the battle continues, he begins losing to the alien. When he asks how this is possible, the alien responds with, "He won't let you take over and it is home." Shallot smiles as he's defeated, muttering maybe Bardock was onto something after all. Before the alien can finish him off, another of his species steps in front of it, shouting that you don't have to kill him, Zaha. He was already injured and you were the one who threw the first punch. Zaha then shouts at Toa, "Step out of the way," but she refuses. Zaha then clicks his tongue, saying, "Go ahead and play doctor, but if he steps out of line, I'm blasting him into nothing." Toa takes Shallot back to her home and begins patching him up. When he asks why she's so kind to him, she says she doesn't want to judge a book by its cover. It's impossible for all Saiyans to be evil. Shallot, wanting to burst her bubble, says all Saiyans are just like him before walking off covered in bandaging. This causes Toa to smirk, saying that wouldn't be so bad. Now with nowhere to go, Shallot thinks of his next course of action. First things first, break his scouter so he can't be listened to or tracked. Next, send his space spy to a random location for the same reason. Now, all he has to do is wait for a ship to plunder. If you're wondering why he hasn't taken a ship from this planet's natives, it's because he feels he owes them at least that much for healing them. So for now, he'll patiently train solo. Let's do a 3-month time skip before the arrival of a few space pods. The village where Shallot initially landed is now being attacked. Shallot goes to check this out, seeing a battered Zaha who is not only outnumbered, but outpowered as well. Tullece is leading the group of 4 other warriors who each have a power level of 5,000. Shallot comes charging in, blasting one of Tullece's minions into nothing with ease. He's somewhat relieved to see Tullece wanting his rematch, but a prideful Zaha tells him to stay out of this. He then attacks Tullece, taking him to a distant location, leaving the minions to Shallot. They think because he's outnumbered, he's outmatched. But when he powers up to his maximum, his new power level after the Zenkai boost from Tullece is 20,000, making 3 warriors with a power level of 5,000 easy picking. After finishing them off, Toa begs him to save Zaha, but he only goes to have a rematch with Tullece. The battle is underwhelming to say the least. Tullece has lost all sense of self after eating a second fruit. Their power levels may be the same, but Tullece's attacks are sloppy and predictable. As a final test of strength, Shallot waits until he fires a blast before he unleashes his final cannon, forcing a beam struggle. Our hero wins, of course, and he carries a reluctant Zaha back to the village. Toa is relieved, but Shallot's victory is short-lived. Coming from Tullece's space pod is a transmission. As King Vegeta, he announces to all Cooler's forces that the Saiyans will no longer serve under them and that the Tree of Might has been spread across multiple planets owned by Cooler, killing them and giving the Saiyans newfound strength. When the transition ends, there is silence from pure shock, but then Cooler announces calmly on the same frequency to kill all Saiyans. On sight, no exception. Shallot doesn't know how to feel. He hates that King Vegeta would do something like this, but at the same time, he's excited for this challenge. So he decides to go to Planet Vegeta where he knows the main action will be. A barely conscious Zaha stops him, saying that his power won't be enough to end this war. When Shallot asks why he even cares since he wanted him dead not 2 seconds ago, Zaha says because this war will shake the entire universe, causing many casualties, including his planet. Shallot ponders his options. Zaha was right. His power level is only 20,000. That's slightly higher than King Vegeta's, but if he took a fruit or even 2 from the Tree of Might, his power level could be as high as 72,000. Add another boost in his Great Ape form, and that's a total of 720,000. Nobody knows the power level of Cooler either, but if King Vegeta is bold enough to start a revolution, it can't be higher than 720,000. Though no matter who wins, Shallot is wanted on both sides. What did you have in mind? The Saiyan asks. Zaha tells him of an ancient trial that is said to increase the power of a warrior 100 times over, but they need the permission of the Grand Elder to enter the cavern known as the Dead Zone where the trial takes place. Once again excited for this new challenge and a chance to get stronger, Shallot agrees, taking Zaha to the village elder. They don't have to explain the situation. Both Zaha and Shallot have proven themselves by protecting the village from the Saiyans. The trial is simple. Head to the end of the cavern, drink the sacred water, and come back. Don't worry about the world because time moves differently in the cavern. A day out here is a month in there. They must go together though to obtain this strength because Shallot is still a Saiyan and Zaha also wants to become stronger for his home planet as well. So he has to wait for Toa to heal Zaha. While this is going on, Toa pleads for them not to go, saying the risk is too high. The reason it's called the Dead Zone is because it's said that powerful demons who were sealed away dwell inside the cavern, and no one who has entered has ever returned. Zaha assures her that he'll return no matter what, while Shallot just says he won't die so easily. Toa gives a tearful smile, telling the two of them they better come back or else she'll never forgive them. Something I like to mention now that I didn't earlier, so people don't get too confused, is that Toa is a healer similar to Dende, which is how both Shallot and Zaha recovered from their wounds so quickly. Back on track, Zaha now fully healed, they head to the cavern, but when they enter, a slight pressure could be felt on the two of them, but they both shrug it off and continue on. With it just being the two of them, Shallot felt it was the right time to ask, why do you want to protect your planet so bad? Zaha was confused at first, thinking this was a joke, but Shallot was dead serious. So he answered honestly, because my people have cared for me and loved me since I was born. They're all kind to a criminal degree, and to see anything bad happen to them fills me with a rage I can't describe. So I have to protect them with all my might. Shallot is silent for a moment before speaking up. So it's because you were raised with kindness that you want to give it back, and it's because I was raised to fight that I became like this. Though Bardock was able to change, thanks to Raditz and Gine, maybe it's not too late for me. Zaha keeps a straight face and continues onward, muttering it's never too late to change. As they head deeper into the cavern, they finally realize that gravity has slowly been increasing around them. Though it only began to become difficult to move around 20 times Zaha's planet's gravity, which is similar to Earth's. So with no other choice, they had to stop and train to adapt. This went on for 2 months, until finally they arrived at the end of the Dead Zone, which had 200 times their normal gravity. Waiting for them were the rumored demons safeguarding the sacred water. They were sealed away by the first village elder long ago in hopes that they would repent for their actions, but Garlic Jr. wanted nothing more than revenge against the elder for killing his father. They had been training, waiting for the day to become strong enough to escape, and that day draws near. Zaha doesn't believe them, but one lackey shows it's able to move at remarkable speeds even with the 200 times gravity. Luckily, the training they did under the intense gravity paid off, and with a combined blast from the two, turns the lackey into dust. The other two lackeys start to sweat, and Garlic Jr. tells them to stop playing around, so they both transform their bodies, each becoming more muscular and grotesque. They're able to separate Shallot and Zaha, now fighting them one-on-one. Zaha sees this as an opportunity to restore his broken pride after losing to Tullece. His swordsmanship has improved, and he's able to wield multiple blades at once with his psychic ability fluently. He slices the lackey he's facing into ribbons and looks over at Shallot with a smug look, but his expression quickly changes, finding Shallot had already beaten his opponent as well. The two then focus on Garlic Jr., who readies himself. He may be stronger than the two of them individually, but after training together for so long, they've learned each other's movements to a T. The teamwork is enough to take down the final demon before he can return to the surface. Shallot spits on the ground in disappointment with the battle, but Zaha tells him to keep it down as he hears footsteps coming closer. Out the shadow comes 3 aliens wearing Cooler Force armor. This causes Shallot to shake as he says he couldn't believe Cooler's armored squadron would be here. Zaha doesn't understand why he's scared. They've been training for 2 months under this intense gravity. There can't be that much of a power difference. This is when Salza, the leader of the group, checks his scouter, chuckling at the fact that Zaha's power level is only 26,000 and Shallot's is only 30,000. Impressive for a Saiyan, but still pathetic. Take them out quick, Ness. Zaha is tired of being mocked and charges forward with his blades, but in the blink of an eye, they were gone. Behind him, Nez is juggling the swords. When Zaha tries taking them back, he's kicked around like a rag doll as Nez continues to juggle the swords, mocking him. When Zaha falls to the ground, Nez steps on his head to further put salt in Zaha's pride. Shallot knows what he has to do and fires an energy blast at Zez, who easily dodges it, but his intention wasn't to hit as he begins to grow in size as his eyes turn red. Shallot's great ape form is here, and because he's a veteran Saiyan warrior, he can control it. With this transformation comes a huge tip in scale and power that even Cooler's armored squadron are worried about. Now I understand why Lord Cooler wanted us to take out these monkeys quick. Salsa clicks his tongue. Shallot slams his arms down on Nez, and the other elite, Door, Nez is barely able to dodge, but Dor tries using his brute strength to power through the attack, but is crushed in the process. Saws orders Nez to cut off his tail while he distracts him, but this isn't easy due to the narrow cavern, and Shallot hasn't gotten any slower in his grade 8 form. When Nez gets close to his tail, he slams him into a wall, but Nez uses his chance to cut off the tail with one of Zaha's swords he took. Shallot's grade 8 form is fading fast, but he doesn't waste any time to grab Nez and throws him towards Salaz, firing a mouth beam that engulfs Nez. Salaza quickly counters with his own beam and the two collide, but Shallot has lost too much power and he begins to lose until Zaha comes from behind and stabs him in the back. Shallot uses this to gather all his strength and blasts Salaza, the last of Kula's armored squadron, into nothing. Shallot faints from overexertion of power and the loss of his tail. It takes a battered Zaha to drag him out the cavern along with the sacred water. When they arrive up top, they find the village has been destroyed. Zaha panics looking around for survivors, but he only finds a crying Toa who explains that the Kula squadron did this looking for Shallot. Shallot regains consciousness long enough to say he's sorry, but Toa tells him to save his strength, trying to calm herself down. Zaha makes him drink the sacred water before he drinks it himself, and after a few seconds they both groan in pain. Toa does her best to heal both of them, and it takes a whole day, but she succeeds, not getting any sleep for herself. When the two warriors wake up, they feel this enormous newfound power that they just can't describe. They truly became 100 times stronger. Standing side by side, Shallot, seemingly more angry than Zaha, vows to repay the kindness that these people have given him. They could have given him out, they could have gave away his location, but they chose to stand strong and protect him while he trained. So he vows to put an end to this war, not for a good fight, but for revenge. And that's the end of part 1. I hope everyone liked it. This is something I wanted to do with Shallot for a while. He's my second favorite character after Gohan. Hopefully yours too. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I've been playing with him and I've been playing Dragon Ball Legends since it first came out, but he's just a real fun character to watch. Sorry if I got any of the alien names right, I tried my best. And honestly, this was supposed to be a 2-parter, but part 1 ended under 10 minutes. So I was just thinking to myself, well, I'm not going to give them an incomplete whatever. So I just put part 2 along with this, and then this is the end result. Hopefully this was long enough, and hopefully you guys want a part 2. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day.